I'm a spectacular audience. Welcome to Writers Literary. Let's talk about books. Here comes yet another video, and I hope you're learning great. So today's video is about a book which I have been wanting to read from a long time, and I was so happy when I went to a bookstore and saw it there and immediately bought it. And I have heard a lot of praise for it on Bookstagram and Book Talk everywhere. And whoever read it told me it's an amazing book. Written by the famous author Khaled Hosseini, whose book The Kite Runner was a very famous read. So the book which I'm talking about is A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. A book which will make you think about human existence, because things which happen in this book often happen in reality. If you relate to this book, I'm really sorry for you, but you see a face of human which quite isn't the clean type, it's very dirty. So a little about the author. Khaled Hosseini was born in Kabul, Afghanistan, and moved to the United States in 1980. His first novel, The Kite Runner, was an international bestseller, published in 34 countries. In 2006, he was named a US Goodwill Envoy to the United Nations Refugee Agency. He lives in Northern California. Moved so much, this guy. Moving towards the story of the book, the story is a blend of two different worlds who come together and makes a story which warms one's heart, which shakes one's soul. The story starts with a girl named Mariam, and she is facing parental neglect. Her mother and her lives in a place which her father gave them. Her father lives with his another family, another wives and children, and they live different in a place which quite wasn't good, not an ideal place to live, but still they managed. And the mother of the girl Mariam was always blaming all the things on Mariam's father, which was right, but to Mariam it was very wrong, because to her the father was everything. He was her role model. She thought that everything will become alright if she goes to him, and she had this thing in mind that her mother is stopping her. Her mother didn't like the idea of Mariam meeting her father because he was a really bad man. He left her and spread rumors about her, but to Mariam he was God. Literally God, and he used to bring gifts for her, sometimes a necklace, sometimes a ring, and etc. And her mother always used to put her down, saying that he probably got it for 1 rupee or something. It must have been an old accessory of one of his children. And Mariam used to think her mother is the villain, while in reality she wasn't. Her father used to come to her and they used to meet, and then he used to go away, and she dreaded the time when father wasn't there because he made her feel special. She thought that he was a really nice man and everything will come alright when he is there. One particular day, Mariam thought to run away and go to her father's house, which was about a city far away. So she thought it, and I think her mother knew what she was up to, so she blamed her. But then Mariam thought that she is just rambling like she usually does. So she went off by foot and then reached her father's place, but then to her misery, she has to sleep a night on the footpath. The guards told her that her father, who was a businessman, was out on a business trip. She was a rebel and she really wanted to meet her father, so what she did, she slept on the footpath. And the next day, the guard, she asked him if her father returned, but they said that no, he didn't. But somehow she got a peek of what was inside the house and she saw her father. And she went mad there. He saw him and he saw her, and he thought that Mariam felt really bad, and it wasn't unintentionally, it was his intention to not meet Mariam. And Mariam, with tears in her eyes, ran away from there. A driver of her father came and he took her back home. And when they were walking back to her house, the guard covered her eyes quickly, but she got a peek of what was in front of her, and it devastated her. She was petrified to see her mother hanging on the tree with a rope. She committed suicide, and Mariam blamed it on her because she knew that her mother was only rambling, but it turned out to be true, and she committed suicide thinking Mariam would never come because it was a day or two since she returned back. In the end, her father had her custody and he brought her back to his house, and she grew very quiet, but then started trusting her father again. And shortly that trust was broken when one of his wives advised him to get her married, and she was really young, about like my age I guess. And the father, he married her off without her will. She didn't say yes, but he married her off with this guy who was like double her age, and he was such a gross man, I'm telling you, and he is the villain, and I wish I could kill him myself, but I couldn't. So she was married off to this guy, and she later got to know that he had a wife before and they had a kid, and he buried his own child, his own son. So it was a very bad thing for him, and his wife was no more. So Mariam was sent away with that man, that strange man whom she never met, married to with, and she was sent away to another city. And before departing, her father came to her and she said that your relation with me is finished right here. You killed me and I'll think that my father is dead. Her father pleaded her for forgiveness, but she didn't forgive him, and she went off with that man to another city to start a new life. The story of Mariam's childhood ends here and a new story starts. The same book, not another story. It's not a combination of stories, but another world is shown to the reader, where a girl named Laila and her life is being discussed. Laila is a carefree child who has a lovely set of parents, and her mother is very determined, a very good woman, and she focuses on education. And there was this quote in the book, I love that quote so much: marriage can wait, education cannot. And it's true indeed. And you can guess what mentality Laila's mother had. Laila used to go on trips with her father and her best friend Tariq, and they had loads of fun, but as she grew up, started to feel things which aren't good for someone living in a sophisticated society, and especially in Afghanistan. And this story was situated before the Taliban came. So when the Taliban came, brothers of Laila were sent to the army to fight for the country, and her mother had very big trust in them, and she thought of them as heroes, and they were very proud of the sons, and her mother always said that she misses them, and of course, who wouldn't? So one fine day there came a news that her brothers are martyrs now. They're dead. They were shot in some war or something, and her mother became a psycho from there. She went on cursing all the people who were against her country and locked herself in, and she stopped all the work she used to do, and the once cheerful lady turned into a mad woman. Well, time passed by and Laila grew up, and so did Tariq, and their bond became stronger. The bombing and attacks in Afghanistan because of Taliban became very severe at that time, and Tariq decided to go to Pakistan with his family, and it broke Laila because to her he was her savior, a person she could rely on, and he was leaving. She tried stopping him, but he didn't, and he left. And she tried persuading her parents to go to Pakistan, but they didn't. They didn't want to leave their land. But the situation got so severe, so bad, and crisis fell upon them. So they had to actually leave from there. And her mother agreed to leave the land where her sons became martyrs. So they decided to flee away to Pakistan, and Laila was more than happy. It was like 15 days later to which Tariq went, and she was thinking that she'll meet him there and their bond will remain as close as it was from the starting. But then suddenly, when she was holding a box and taking it outside, she heard a voice which was made before the airstrike, and everything came to an halt. Air fighting was done and their house blew up, and Laila was injured badly. Her father and her mother died, but she somehow survived, and she was taken to a hospital, taken care of, and after so many days she woke up from the coma, and her injuries were really bad, like I don't even want to express it. And this book has such good detailings that by every sentence, every scene, I had a picture in my mind. It was like a movie playing in my mind reading this book. So what happens next in the story is the two lives of Mariam and Laila merges together, and we get the exact reason why the author was crying about another life and why he switched. So the world meets of Mariam and Laila. Mariam is now an aged woman and she lives with her husband Rashid, and that guy has turned out to be so abusive, so bad. Well, Laila comes to the scene when Mariam helped her get better. Her medical condition was really bad, so she decided to take care of Laila. When Laila woke up, she went into a horrible situation where she didn't know what to do, because she wasn't only on her own. She wasn't one person, she was two, if you know what I mean. A person was growing inside her. So when Rashid, seeing her young age and beauty, proposed her for a marriage, she immediately said yes. But Mariam wasn't so happy in this case, and when she tried to put her opinion in front of him, he declined and abused her again. So she had no say in that decision, and she hated Laila for that. And she tried making things hard for Laila, but Laila just couldn't thank her more for saving her life and helping her medically. Laila gave birth to a beautiful daughter, and she named her Aziza. Laila was taken care of by Rashid, who was Mariam's husband, but now Laila's husband too. He took care of her like she was some queen or something, and he treated Mariam like trash. They were expecting a child, and for a hint for you guys, it wasn't his child. Well, anyways, Rashid was really happy with Laila because Mariam couldn't give him an offspring. Laila and Rashid went to the hospital, and when they came back, Mariam saw the disappointment on Rashid's face, and she knew that they had a daughter. The daughter was named Aziza, and Rashid was really mad at her, and he started to care less for her. He did respected her. He started ignoring her, and he started abusing her too at some point. Well, then the abusing went so bad, and it went on with Mariam too. And Mariam started making a bond with Aziza, Laila's daughter, and she started to love Aziza and Laila both, and they created a family within themselves. In the middle of crisis in Afghanistan and a crisis along their home with a madman on their head, they started making a family, and seeds of love started to grow. Well, then one fine day, they both planned on running away from this man, and when Rashid went to work, they finally grabbed their bags, and with Aziza, they both, Mariam, Laila and Aziza, they went to the bus station to go to Pakistan, and they thought they'll live a good life and somehow they'll manage. But this is madman, and they can't live with it. They were about to flee away from this life, from this cage, but there was this rule at that time that two women or any woman cannot travel or go anywhere without the escort of a man who is her family, either brother, husband or father. And they were alone and no man was with them, so they were found suspicious. They tried taking help from strangers, but then in the end they were caught and they were sent back to Rashid, and he was so furious, so goddamn furious, that he beated Mariam up. He abused her so badly, and he locked both of them, Laila and Mariam, in different rooms, and he kept them starving, and he only gave them water, little water which human cannot survive on for like 2-3 days. Laila had Aziza, and she was begging him that she won't do anything as such again in life, and that her daughter is dying, but he didn't listen. And then one fine day when he came, and Laila was foggy in her head because 3 days without water or food, and he let them out, and they were really scared of Rashid from then because he promised he will not leave Mariam nor Laila nor the daughter of them, Aziza. He will leave nobody, and he will kill them if they tried this again. This made them really scared, and time passed by like this, and Laila was expecting their second child, and it turned out to be a boy, and Rashid was more than happy, and he left the 3 girls in the house alone, and he used to give all his love to his son, and the partiality was really visible, even in food, even in clothes, even in toys and everything. He used to be so partial just because of the gender of his children, and I felt really bad for that little kid because she was really bright, she was really responsible and very mature for her age. And crisis came to show up because Afghanistan was turning into a very bad situation because of the Taliban, and it turned out to be so bad that they were dying to see a morsel of food, and they were on really bad crisis. So Rashid suggested that they give Aziza to the orphanage, and as much as Mariam and Laila begged him to not, Aziza was sent into an orphanage, and they told her that it was a school, and my heart broke there. Them letting Aziza go, especially Mariam and Laila, that Rashid guy had no pity on her, but Mariam and Laila, they were crying and they were so sad, and I don't know what to say, how to express their feelings. Actually, I can feel by the words Avadar has written, I can actually feel that what was happening. Mariam, who was stuck by crisis, was pressured by Rashid to call her father because he was a really rich guy and ask him for help. And unwillingly, because of crisis and the pressure from Rashid, Mariam called her father and got to know that he had died very long ago when she was a newly-wed wife sometime after that. So it was very disappointment and sad for Mariam, and she thought that because of her parents, both mother and father, they both died because of her, and it was all her fault. She started blaming herself, but with Aziza and Laila on her side, they made her feel better. One fine day, and I forgot to tell you in the start, I'm so sorry, that the reason why Laila agreed to marry, because there came a news that Tariq was attacked like in the airstrike, like she was somewhere, and he lost his another leg, and now it's a long time suffering in a hospital. He died, and this story was told by a person who claimed that he was in the next bed next to Tariq, and he used to tell stories of Laila to him. And they had a romantic relationship between them, Laila and Tariq. You might now guess whose daughter Aziza really is. So out of dismay, she married Rashid, and that Monday, while Rashid was away, there was a knock on the door, and Laila went to see who she was when her son made a noise, pushing away a person. She went and her world collapsed. There stood Tariq, healthy as ever, and he was looking at her. It was the best reunion I had ever seen in my entire life, and I can't function at that time. It was so happy. Like, I felt I was Laila, and I was seeing my friend who was dead, like literally dead. I don't know how she would have felt, but the emotions I felt, I am not surprised how the author didn't express them in detail. And they talked, and then Laila sent Tariq away because she was married, and Tariq felt really bad when knowing what happened to her, and he said, I wish I'd take you with me to Pakistan. And he came just for her. Well, Laila sent him back, and she said that she would make him meet his daughter. Later that day, Rashid came, and her son, who was really close to Rashid, told him that a man came to meet Laila, and he grew impatient, and he asked boy, and he told him everything. And that man, Rashid, it felt like some demon came into him. He was so mad that I could actually feel a guy going red on the face. And on the expressive way the author wrote, I'm telling you this again and again, it's so good, you can picture it all in the head. And he was so angry. He took out a belt and he started to beat Laila, and he said, I knew it from the start that you were a cheat, and Aziza wasn't my child, but I still care of you, and now you're doing this to me. And Laila, who was gonna get hit by a belt Rashid was delivering, she held the belt and she slapped Rashid so hard he fell. But then, as he was much stronger than Laila, much older and stronger, he slapped her back, and this time she fell. And Laila shouted that you two lied, and I don't even know who that person was. I'm sure you sent him to make me agree to marry you when you said that Tariq was dead when he wasn't. It was such a euphoric moment. I was just reading. And there came a time when Mariam couldn't take any of it, and she lifted a stick, a broom, or I don't know what, and a stick, I guess. And then she banged it on Rashid's head, and he fell down, and she beated him so badly, so amazingly, and I was so proud of Mariam at the time. And she killed Rashid, and he was dying there, and after a hit from his own belt, he died. And a lifeless Rashid was lying there, and Laila was scared to the core, shook to the core, and their children were locked up in the room, so they couldn't hear anything, they couldn't see anything, and that was a good thing. Mariam and Laila dragged the body to a room, and Mariam took Laila by her shoulders and told her, look, go get Aziza, take the child and go to Tariq. I'll handle this here. And Laila obviously refused that she's going to take her with her, and they are sisters and they'll live it, and it's gonna be alright. But then Mariam said no, it's gonna get really bad if police finds about Rashid, and they soon will, because his body will start to smell, and if he doesn't show on work, people will come to their house and inquire, and then they will be roasted, both of them. So she said that I love Aziza, this child, this boy, and you very much, and I think this little sacrifice by me will give all of you a new life. And it was such an emotional moment when she finally got Laila convinced to go away with Tariq, and she went to the police and surrendered, and like fearlessly, like a lioness, she went there and she was hanged to death. And it was a really sad moment for me, and I actually cried there. Anyways, what happened next was that Laila and Tariq went to some other place and they bought a house there, and Tariq and Aziza, they were father-daughter, and they looked so alike, and I don't know what it was, the bond, the blood or something. They started to mend together, they started completing each other's sentences, and it was all naturally the way they were acting. And the boy who had a special connection with Rashid, who died, was not accepting Tariq as his dad, and he said he is a bad man and he will be killed once his father returned. He was told that his father has gone to some business trip or something. But soon as the time passed by, the boy accepted Tariq as his father because he wasn't beast like his dad, and sometimes he even got abusive on the boy, but he didn't knew it and he didn't think about it because he was a little child. But then when he realized, he accepted Tariq as his dad, and Aziza already did, and they started living a happy life. And after some time, Laila was going to be a mother again, and they were all searching for a name for a boy, and it was hilarious when Laila's son, he couldn't figure out why they cannot name Afghanistan child as Clark after this all superhero whatever thing. And they had certain names for the child which is going to come, Umar, Amar, whatever, and then the book ended with a line, and I don't want to mess the line. I actually put things in detail to explain and I mess things up, so I'll just read it from the book itself. And the line said, but the game involves only male names because if it's a girl, Laila has already named her, and the name would be, unsurprisingly for all of us, would be Mariam. And it was a really good story, a story of motherhood, a story of love, hatred. Even in an aura of hatred, Mariam found love in people, and she decided to sacrifice herself when everybody in this world gave her nothing but hate. She decided on sacrificing herself for some people in this world, and it's such a moving, heartbreaking story, and it's a domestic fiction, and this has gotten me so emotional. And I know that this is fiction, but the fact that this can be someone's real story scares me, because I know this can happen in real life. We all do. Sad to see people still doing these things. This story goes up and down. It has its ups and downs, and it will make you cry. I'm damn sure. And I'm sure of one thing, that this book is gonna become a classic in the coming time. This book is a masterpiece, I'll say. I don't have words to express how good it is, and I can keep talking and talking and talking about it if I want to, but it will never be enough. But just that this book is worth reading, worth your time, worth your money, worth everything. So that's it for this time. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below which was your favorite part. Have you read this book, or do you relate to any of this? Share this video with your bookworm friends, subscribe to my channel, and also follow me on Instagram. Up until next time, bye bye.